a Ugandan investment officer that's based in our office in Kenya. And this picture tells, I think, a good story. The ACPCU is a farmer cooperative in southwestern Uganda that represents several thousand coffee growers. And for years, they had to sell through middlemen, partly because they lacked direct access to financing. So in 2008, they approached Root Capital for a loan. And at the time, they had only a 3-person staff and an entirely manual accounting system. And Richard, I think rightly so, was concerned about their ability to manage the loan. So he provided 5 days of financial training in reconciling accounts and stocks management and creating and maintaining reliable cash flow statements. Several months later, we made a $113,000 loan, and it financed the first direct exports ever, and it helped to generate $450,000 in sales. Fast forward 1 year, they paid down the loan, hired a qualified financial accountant, purchased 4 computers out of profits, took out a new loan, and last year they generated $1.6 million in sales. Now this kind of... Thank you. This kind of training is happening across the countries and the sectors and the businesses we aim to serve. And you can see here down the lower corner in the western highlands of Guatemala, we're doing a centralized workshop there. And so we go where the clients are. And I think that's our presence in the field is central to our model, to use a hackneyed word, and our success. Now, lastly, in terms of catalyzing a new asset class, to fill this missing middle, one of the most important things I think that we're involved in is building the industry alliances that will do for the missing middle what Muhammad Yunus of Grameen and Company did for microfinance, which is to create the collaborative behavior and the unified voice and the advocacy platforms required to unlock billions of dollars for small and growing businesses. And for instance, we're a founding board member of the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs, ANDE, a new program at the Aspen Institute, which has really become, since 2008, an epicenter for building infrastructure for the industry to enable small and growing businesses to thrive in developing countries. Now, so it's a nice strategy, but how do we know it works? Root Capital tracks our outcomes through social value metrics, enterprise-level indicators of our social, economic, and environmental outcomes. We collect this data through our standard loan application process, and it's the underpinning of our performance assessment work. And as of the end of last month, we show that we're on track to exceed the 2010 goals you see here. In addition to tracking those outcomes, we hold ourselves accountable in our lending program for demonstrating the efficiencies of every donor dollar that's entrusted to us. So without going too much into the math, I'll share that for every dollar spent on our lending program, which is about 60% of our total budget, we disperse $21 in credit. But for every donor dollar spent, that is not including the interest earned on our portfolio, we disperse $105 in credit to the farmers. Now, to make these numbers more real, in the first quarter of 2010, our lending activities resulted in an average revenue generated per farm household of $1,127. And so that's extra income gets invested in the things that matter most. School books, in the case of Shiahiati, health clinics, deep water wells, basic community infrastructure. Now lastly, I'm running out of time, I know, but the scaling plan for us, we're on a path to reach scale and build a sustainable institution and business model that delivers in perpetuity on our mission. And we ran our numbers last year and realized we were tripling away from 100% operating self-sufficiency on our lending business. So like microfinance, the lending is designed inherently to become profitable when we hit a minimum threshold scale. So, we're kicking that flywheel of revenue generation, and this year we'll cover 73% of our operating budget on the lending business, up from 65% last year. We've also set the goal of rolling out our financial education and training where we work throughout Latin America and Africa, and then also continue to build our capability to engage with local financial institutions. Now, closing, to do this year, we're going to raise $16 million. We may up it to 20, but right now $60 million in debt. and $6.5 million in philanthropy. And we're making speedy progress toward that, but we still got a lot of work to do. And next year, we're setting our sights still higher. And to end, I'll turn our attention just briefly back to Shia Hyati and her boys on the slopes of Kilimanjaro. I mean, here's the rub. Like millions of other folks in Africa and Latin America, the future of Shia Hyati's children, their hopes, their dreams, their aspiration, really depends in large measure on the success of their parents' business. And that's why I and our team feel such a sense of urgency to try to harness as much support as we can muster to provide that needed capital and technology and markets and talent so that those businesses can thrive. And so thank you so much, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Okay. Questions? Okay, I'm going to throw out the first question. Why has it been difficult to do third-party studies on your work, and what will it take to do that?
Why is it difficult to do third-party studies?
Yeah, sort of third-party evaluations.
Well, we're actually doing third-party evaluations now with some funding from the Gates Foundation to do deep dives beyond the social value metrics that I talked about and kind of measuring the outcomes. Great. Where there'll be 2 of them that will be done on the impact of agricultural on gender and on women, empowerment, and then also household income, and really drilling down. But one of the difficulties in our work, maybe relative to the direct service providers that are up here today, the others, is that the attribution is a sticky wicket. When you are enabling a business to address market failures and then grow, but that business is an aggregator for 1,000 one-acre cocoa farmers in the Ivory Coast, it's hard to attribute directly to the capital the total impact of what the business does. But we do our best, and so, yeah.
Okay. Quick question. I'm looking, scanning the audience. Raise your hand high if you've got one. Okay, right here in the front.
Thank you. Michelle Gilliard from the Walmart Foundation. What's your average loan default rate, and what are you doing to address that?
Thanks for asking that question. Believe it or not, with 200 million plus in disbursements, we have a 99+% repayment rate, so less than 1% default rate.
Wow. Are we out?
And we cannot defy the law of gravity forever. But the reason why we're so successful on that front and why it's so fundamental for us to not lose a lot of money in this, to be able to prove the business case for lending to these currently unbankable rural businesses, is that we're very disciplined in that. How do we do this? How does this actually work? We're lending where the main collateral, the main security is forward contracts and purchase orders with the likes of Starbucks and over 100 wholesalers, retailers, importers of sustainable natural products. So basically, as long as product ships, we get paid back through an assignment of receivable, not to get technical, but by the buyer. And so that enables us to be able to kind of really monitor from working in almost 30 different countries quite well by tightly embedding into those global value chains. However, I'll highlight, we have about 50 headcount. 25 are in Cambridge in the United States, 25 are based in offices in Latin America and Africa. Almost all of our hires going forward are in the markets we serve. And Richard Tugume, who I mentioned, who's the son of a large animal vet who came from rural Uganda and tested into good schools in Kampala and became an auditor for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then became director of finance for a large coffee co-op in Tanzania. People like Richard, who are from the local communities with MBA skills and so on, really become deep expert in industry knowledge, every single thing that could happen in the mango value chain or the cocoa value between farm gate and port. And then we try to hardwire that, and we work with Citibank's microfinance group in how do we adopt the Office of the Control of the Currency's risk classification systems so we hardwire our risk mitigation. So if a bank comes, and they do, and ask us, how are you doing this? I thought everybody lost their shirt in ag lending. We say, well, look, this is exactly how we do it, and we can share this IP with you all.
Thank you, Willie, so much. We're going to end the questions there. Amazing, your capital. Okay, our last presentation of the morning, and then get ready to literally race upstairs. But please, hold your attention for Dorothy Stoneman. She has an incredible story. She's the founder and CEO of YouthBuild USA. She's going to tell you much of what was in my introduction, so I'm going to click for her. Yes. This is the most important thing to know here is that they address the most vulnerable teenaged youth in the country. And this is a holistic program that addresses the 4 really key issues in low-income communities, issues around education, employment, housing, and leadership development. And this is just a powerful combination of job training and education, and you're going to hear all about it. They've been around for a long time. They're already partially scaled, but they are really ready to take it to the next level. Dorothy is really the matriarch of social entrepreneurs. She was originally a teacher. She, right here in the Bronx is where she got her start, and she started this organization 30 years ago. And she'll be joined very briefly by Nina Dixon, the head of YouthBuild's National Alumni Association. But Dorothy, we're just going to dive in, and the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you. It is amazing to be here. This is an exhilarating conference. It feels like there are finally people organized to help us on this mission. YouthBuild USA is on a mission to generate the resources that can inspire, empower, and, well, really mobilize as leaders young people to rebuild their communities and their lives. There are 2 million 16 to 24-year-old low-income young people in the United States who are out of school and out of work, who left high school without a diploma or who were kicked out and can't find a job. More than 300,000 of them are in prison. They possess enormous intelligence and a deep desire to lead a good life, but they feel, most of them, hopeless and afraid. Many young men really expect to be dead or in jail before they're 25. This is a serious social and economic problem in the United States that we have a moral imperative to solve. But it is a finite problem that, in fact, we can solve. YouthBuild USA has spent 30 years figuring out how to solve it and how to scale it up with public funds, but really, we've only just begun, even though we know how to do it. Good. The short version of what happens in a YouthBuild program is that young people enroll full-time for about a year, during which they spend half their time in a YouthBuild alternative school, working toward their GED or their diploma, the other half building affordable housing for homeless and low-income people in their neighborhood, internalizing the ethic of service, learning job skills. And it's knit together by a very caring, safe mini-community of peers and adults who care about each other's success and are committed to changing the conditions that have harmed them and their families. In YouthBuild, we believe in the sacred value of every human being and their inherent goodness. And we believe in the power of love and opportunity to gain skills and chart a path to a future of their own choosing as a powerful force to transform the life prospects of the young people. We've seen it work thousands of times. Let me show you a quick glimpse inside YouthBuild Philadelphia of the demand for this program from the young people. And we hope this will work. Is the video
Yeah,
gonna
it's
work?
going. That's what it is.
The bullets went right through the front windshield, hitting the driver in the head. He is 22-year-old Edwin Munoz.
This 22-year-old who was shot this morning has just died.
Look, if you had one shot.
Where we're really looking is to go the whole journey from being a high school dropout to being a post-secondary graduate with a job in a career pathway.
Did you capture it? Just let it slip. Yo.
It's basically what I need because I feel like a whole lot of doors been closed in my face.
I never had somebody keep saying over and over how much they really want us to graduate.
The help I needed, there wasn't nobody there to give me help.
I'll be 19 this year. I need to do it, I gotta do it, and I'm going to do it.
I feel like this is my last chance to do what I gotta do to straighten up.
About to start.
teaching interview skills, phone etiquette, business etiquette, resume. We don't find you jobs, but we give you all the tools that you need to be able to land a job on your own.
Why are you here? What is your post-youth build goal?
Take further my education.
Be specific, people. Be specific.
So start a career.
Be specific about a career.
I'm here to be a contractor and quit the job I got to provide better for my family.
That's really specific. The more you're thinking about why you're here, the less you're thinking about pulling out that cell phone, getting high. If you're tuned into why you're here, you will change that here.
At a time in our nation when so many are struggling, we have to remember that everyone can make a difference. Particularly low-income youth, sometimes we overlook them, and it's places like YouthBuild that help rebuild communities all across this country, but to also complete high school. This is just the beginning.
We sort of sit here and talk about life in depth, but for them, it's reality.
I've seen a lot. Lives getting took, people paralyzed from the neck down.
It's amazing how much experience with grief our students have had.
Things I've seen, I know I got a meaning in life. I know I do, because I could have been gone.
Just let it slip. Yo.
This is the year that's going to start the transformation. Welcome to the class of 2010.
I know I'm gonna make it. By this time next year, I will be graduating.
You can do anything you set your mind to, man.
Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Saxon, and 13 years ago, I was sitting right there. And I'm gonna tell you that I didn't feel part of my community. I was almost trying to tear it up. But through YouthBuild, I was able to obtain my bachelor's degree from Morgan State University, 2 master's degrees, and now I'm currently the vice president of the National Alumni Council. I'm on the board of directors of the very first YouthBuild program in East Harlem. I work for Exodus Transitional Community, helping men and women that's coming out of prison and help them in reentry for successful life back into society. And I will be the first African-American woman to run and win city council for East Harlem.
Right.
Nina is outstanding, but she's not unique, and our long-range goal is to have as many people following in Nina's path toward real community leadership as possible, and if we fail to do that, we will not be succeeding in our mission. This was the first building that we did in East Harlem, and if you look carefully, although we're going to change this slide, I'm up there in one of those windows. In 1992, YouthBuild's allies on Capitol Hill, led by Senator John Kerry, passed legislation that authorized the federal YouthBuild program under HUD. That was after we had already replicated in 20 cities around the country and demonstrated that it could be replicated, and we got the same spirit from different programs. Today, after 18 years of continuous public funding, there are 273 YouthBuild programs in America's poorest urban and rural communities, engaging 10,000 young people full-time each year, building at least 1,000 units of affordable housing. To date, 92,000 young people have built 19,000 units of housing. Next year, we hit 100,000. YouthBuild USA is therefore at a unique stage in this process of taking a social innovation to scale. We've created a program that works, established a steady public funding stream through the Department of Labor, organized an affiliated network of autonomous social entrepreneurs on the ground, built a national advocacy network of 800 local community organizations, and sustained a network of graduate leaders. We have developed a strong national nonprofit to manage this complex system. Private investment has generated all of this, starting with $50,000 from the Ford Foundation, followed by Mott Foundation investment, which has lasted continuously for 22 years. It has generated $800 million of federal funds and given us the independence to move now with flexibility in a robust and complicated public-private partnership. But with all that, YouthBuild has not achieved full scale, we have not solved the problem, and we're turning away thousands of young people each year, and hundreds of community-based organizations are applying to the Department of Labor for YouthBuild funds, but there's not enough money there for them. So we haven't reached the limit of capacity, haven't reached the limit of demand, and haven't met the need, but we do have an engine built, which with more fuel can take us to our goal. So before I show you our future plan, I know you need to see some data. This is the young people who come to YouthBuild, 100% poor, 92% left high school without a diploma or they were kicked out. They're 73% young men, 41% court involved, and the range of ethnicity you can see there. Time is short. Now, this is the most disadvantaged population attracted by any national network of programs. So what are the outcomes? 64% complete the program, 53% of them earn a GED or diploma, and 69% go on to college or jobs with an average wage of $9 an hour. It costs $22,000 per full-time year per student, including the stipends that are paid to the young people for the work they do producing affordable housing. This is less than the other full-time options for disadvantaged out-of-school youth, or even not even advantaged youth: military, Job Corps, college, or prison. So what's the return on this investment, and do these gains fade over time? No. According to research to date, the gains don't fade over time, although we'll see more soon. And the return on investment for every dollar spent on every court-involved YouthBuild student is at least $10.80. YouthBuild lowers recidivism rates by 40 percentage points, and you can imagine how much money our state governments could save if they did that across the board. We have tracked data rigorously and contracted with a variety of independent studies over the years, but starting in September, the Department of Labor will manage a large-scale random assignment experiment to see what happens in comparison to a real randomly selected group. Nonetheless, we have so many stunning stories of individual success and change that I know in my heart and mind that YouthBuild has been making a difference. I get letters and emails every week from young people saying, "You don't know me, but thank you for saving my life. I am now doing well in life, and before I was on the road to prison." A young man here, Antonio Ramirez, was a gang member who joined YouthBuild right after his best friend got murdered. He's now the director of youth programming for the Boys and Girls Club in Rockford, Illinois, and was selected by the Chamber of Commerce as an up-and-coming leader. He's married, has 3 children and a house, and he's fabulous. Now here's a picture of our next steps. So this is a big picture. This is our short-term goal, right? Because we have only 12 minutes here. So we want to double YouthBuild by 2013. To do it, we have to do these 3 things. We've got to increase graduate success, strengthen network sustainability, intensify advocacy, and there are these many elements. We are working on the cutting edge always of innovation, and that's where a lot of our private capital goes. Private capital goes to give us flexibility, innovation, and individual donors have funded our advocacy. Every dollar anyone has given us has resulted in 400 public dollars. So about 40 YouthBuild programs are charter schools. We're expanding that. We're working with the Gates Foundation to increase the not only access to, but completion of post-secondary credentials. We are now counting, measuring post-secondary credential attainment, starting in 7 pilot sites, but we'll be expanding that across the network. We are training young people in green careers, preparing them for this new world, and also creating small businesses that will generate revenue and hire graduates. Started a healthcare career track in 15 sites because it's a career path of great demand, which meets our values of giving back to the community. Now, the graduate civic engagement is hugely important to us, and we want to lift the voice of young people who've been raised poor and who are now mature, thoughtful, contributing adults into all of the policy arenas that we can find that affect the education job training, housing, leadership development, crime prevention, arenas, and environmental stuff. So I don't have time to tell you the rest of this. She's telling me I have 1 more minute. So let's move. Our $85 million is our growth plan target. We've raised that much. We need $68 million more today. Going once, going twice. Moving. This is our model. Our goal, that at the local level, that for local programs, 50% of their funds will come from the federal Department of Labor line item. We are also very big in national service because we are contributing to changing the equilibrium, if you will, around involvement of low-income young people in giving service, not receiving service. So we have 3,000 YouthBuild AmeriCorps members earning an education award. Let's see. Okay, we are profoundly grateful to our key investors in this growth plan who have contributed to what we've done so far. And I want to add to that list American Express, who's in the room, and they've also been part of this. And of course, GPN, who's helping us. Help us, please, open the doors to every young person knocking. We think we can get to 50,000, and that's the number that President Obama agreed to in his campaign, although a lot of pressure's on him. And we do believe that if society would make the investment needed to open the doors to YouthBuild and all the programs like YouthBuild, and that's part of our advocacy and policy impact goals to build constituency around increasing the overall investment from the public sector in all of the effective programs. But if we would make the investment, we could break the cycle of poverty in a generation.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, if there are any burning questions from the audience, I will take them.
And Nina will take questions also.
And Nina will
if you
take
have
questions.
For Nina.
Raise your hand quickly. Yes, right behind you.
That one question is, when do we get lunch?
Maybe pretty much all we have time for, so make it a good one. No pressure.
No pressure. It's an incredibly inspiring story. Who is YouthBuild? Who makes up YouthBuild?
Who makes YouthBuild?
Who directs and runs YouthBuild in the various locations?
Okay, so at the local level, each YouthBuild program is run by an autonomous, community-based sponsoring organization, either an NGO or a public entity. They're about 3/4 NGOs. They raise their own money. There's one here in the room, Isis Ann Higdon. You can talk to her later. They have to apply directly to the Department of Labor and to compete for the public funds that we get through our advocacy appropriated to the Department of Labor. They then join us voluntarily in our affiliated network of local programs and agree to certain program design and performance standards, to submit data, to participate in solidarity, to support each other's strength so that we're not a competitive network. Even though they have to compete with each other for these public funds, they're incredible about supporting each other to do everything possible. Does that answer your question?
Okay, great. I think we could have a fantastic afternoon of asking you questions about your program, but we're going to end it here. Dorothy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Okay, second floor, lunch, back here at 2 o'clock promptly. We'll see you soon. Thanks for a great morning.